Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm back today with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going today, Bill?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I
Yep.
hope you get a little better. You've had a little issue here this morning.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Since COVID back in 2020, I've had this lingering cough hit me three, four times. And I'm hoping that isn't what this is because
Yeah.
it'll last for like 3 weeks. And I won't be
Ah,
sick otherwise. I won't be sick otherwise. I'll just be coughing all the time. And it drives me crazy because there's no like phlegm. It's just like a scratchy throat.
yeah.
It's really odd. Anyways, so I do have a cough drop in my mouth. I'm not chewing gum. I hope it's not too distracting for people, but we're gonna run with it anyways. I wanted to start out with an article I pulled in off of LinkedIn. And
Okay.
the largest power generation permit in US history was just issued. Pacifico Energy got a 7.65 gigawatt air permit from something called TCEQ for their GW Ranch project in West Texas. It's the largest power generation permit ever granted in the United States. And I think about that. If that was nuclear reactors, that'd be like 8 cooling towers.
Yeah.
Um, so it is an off-grid project, and um, oh,
Thank
okay,
you.
I'll try that. Um, so it's in Pecos County, Texas. They're building a massive energy campus, 7.65 gigawatts of gas-fired power generation.
Of course.
Right. 1.8 gigawatts of battery storage, 750 megawatts of solar on 8,000 acres. First power delivery um, in the first part of 2027 with a clear pathway to scale beyond 5 gigawatts. It's completely off grid, not connected to ERCOT at all. They have a 15-mile, 1 BCF per day pipeline, billion cubic feet per day is what I suspect that stands for, BCF,
Yeah.
straight to the Waha hub in the Permian Basin. It's not just access to natural gas, that's control over fuel supply and pricing.
So if
Um,
they're off grid, what are they doing with it?
well, it's all for AI.
Oh,
Where do we
okay. They're
find
building a
power
big
for AI?
power plant out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I had heard about this previously about all the gas turbines being made. That
And they're
were
all
like
going here.
25 megawatt gas turbines, and this project needed like 30 of them or 31. Yeah, but they've got some solar. They're trying to throw some solar in there. I mean, the 8,000 acres of solar.
Well, I'm guessing that they're using that the gas would be their off peak, cloudy day.
Oh, we could do this show on CB radio. It'd be a different audience. That's for sure.
Yeah,
If we
hey,
did the show on CB, we all the truckers within 20 miles would be our audience. We might have a lot of
yeah,
those.
yeah,
You never
yeah.
know. Um, but the question where do we find power for AI anymore? It's who controls the energy infrastructure for the next generation of compute. Now, those resources could have went to the grid to make power cheaper, right? Instead, they went to this outfit. And we're seeing this a lot more in the nuclear space, obviously, where people are paying for their own generation. It's just, that's a lot of power. And it's not all natural gas, but it's 95% natural gas.
Yeah.
They got a little solar there just to show that they're doing it, but I don't know. That project is so big. It's hard to just fathom pulling in that much power. Um, let's talk about this whole thing with the cell to body EV movement.
Yeah, it's all new to me. I mean, there have been efforts in the past, different companies. I think Mercedes has developed a paint or something like that that has experimentally, will charge the 12-volt battery in the car or whatever. But this is a project mainly developed, from what I understand at this point, largely by Chinese scientists, of course. And the one example that they give there, the photograph that I used for the article, is of a Swedish company, but the young lady holding the carbon fiber part that is like battery A, battery B, battery C, and that sheet of carbon fiber is Chinese, and that's great. I mean, they have they've put the pedal to the metal when it put the pedal to the metal. But anyway, that to advance this technology right along. And I think the headline or the way it reads is leaving a lot of battery companies or car makers flat-footed. You basically, so what they're saying is you can take this material. It's sort of like a carbon fiber that you'd find in a boat or a race car or something like that, and you can actually, that becomes the battery. So typically, so a massless battery EV would be an electric car where the body of the car is the battery. You don't have these little, double A, triple A type, cells that are stacked all together and become a fire hazard. The whole battery, the whole structure of the car is used to store energy, which is kind of an exciting trend. Because if you remove that mass from the car, suddenly there's less stress on the roads. You're not going through tires as fast. You're getting better performance. You're getting, better range out of them. So it's kind of an exciting area to see where that's going.
Let's see. Researchers have replaced the aluminum foil in the cathode with carbon fiber, again coated with the LFP formula. It just seems strange. So basically making the entire shell of the vehicle into the battery itself instead of using the skateboard concept. That we've had this traditionally been the idea of how, EVs are built.
Right.
They're going to start on the Volvo EX30 or EX60 midsize.
Yeah, why not?
Volvo Cars Chief Technology Officer Anders Bell said the EX60 is designed to be a game changer. With our new electric vehicle architecture, we directly address the main worries that customers have when considering a switch to a fully electric car. It charges faster, regardless of the weather. Practically speaking, it can add up to 340 kilowatts, 340 kilometers of range in 10 minutes using a 400 kilowatt fast out charger.
Amazing.
That's a lot of range in 10 minutes. That's about 22, 23 miles per minute it's adding. Wow, Tesla looked at this at one point and decided it didn't really make sense. But who knows? That's a pretty crazy idea. But the truth is it's probably going to come to fruition, though.
I would not surprise me. Why not? If they can get the cost in line, why not do that? Now, of course, that may obsolete things like the Gigapress, or it might not. I don't know. I mean, it would take entirely new sort of processes to manufacture a whole car that is basically the battery. But why not? Sounds kind of sci-fi in a way, but if it's feasible, let's just try to move it forward.
It's just hard to fathom that the whole car made out of battery materials, and you're just sitting inside a giant battery as you're going down the road.
What happens when it gets in water, though?
There you go. Yeah, don't be driving it out in salt water. Yeah. We already know that's bad. I'm sitting here thinking in an accident, isn't that like more points that could catch on fire? But I guess it depends on
There's nothing to burn.
I guess the structure is more of a solid state battery.
Of course, the problem now becomes if the whole car is a battery, what happens when you're in a collision? Do you just bang out the side of the battery? Do you cut it out and replace it? I mean, that becomes an issue. I just like the Cybertruck is kind of a problem because there's nobody that knows how to do the body repair. So I think that's obviously an issue that's going to have to be addressed at some point. And then there's the issue of what happens when you recycle. Aluminum or stainless steel you could recycle, but a whole car that's a battery, how do you recycle that? So it sounds cool, but there obviously there's some practical things that'll have to be taken into consideration. That I don't know if we've evaluated quite yet.
No, it does make you wonder. It's like, yeah, like I was saying in the chat, is a fender bender a total loss?
Yeah.
Even if it's small, I mean, but who knows? It's people are pretty smart.
What if it's just simply a Lego? Okay, where the car is built in such a way. I mean, we do that today already, where you've got parts. So what if what you've got is maybe there's a steel frame underneath that, and there's just panels that stick on, and all you have to do is just simply take the old panel off, put the new panel on. Maybe if the metal's been, dented, you put that back. Traditional, technology, push it back in place, or weld a new piece in, or whatever it takes, and put the new panel in. I mean, they've been building cars. The original Think City that Ford developed back in the early 2000s, that was that way. It was it was called rotoplastic, and it was just a steel frame, and then there were, a special type of plastic that was put on the side of it. I would bet that that's how they will end up doing this. You'll have a steel chassis, a skeleton for rigidity, and then you just have panels that get, adhered in some way or another.
All right. Let's move on to the big news of the week. Elon Musk merges SpaceX with xAI at a $1.25 trillion valuation. I had heard talk that a couple of days ago, people thought he was going to merge SpaceX with Tesla. And there was people.
Well, he kind of has, hasn't he? Because doesn't Tesla have some kind of investment in xAI?
Most. Well, yeah, but this was about SpaceX. They were talking about SpaceX and Tesla merging a couple of days ago.
Yeah, all right.
But they merged SpaceX with xAI. And the idea here, so SpaceX is acquiring xAI, which is Grok, essentially, ahead of a planned mid-2026 IPO. My AI said, creating the world's most valuable combined company at 1.25 trillion, maybe the biggest IPO at 1.25 trillion. Certainly not the world's most valuable company, because there are several companies worth several $1 trillion already.
All right.
But part of this is the long-term vision includes building AI data centers in space, though experts says this remains a dream for now. xAI needs SpaceX's funding and infrastructure immediately. But the idea is they want to deploy all of these satellites that are really data centers in space with solar panels catching solar for energy,
and then using the cold of deep space to cool them.
Right. This merger signals massive future electricity demand for AI infrastructure, further justifying nuclear and grid expansion investments. Now, the only thing of this is now xAI obviously had this controversy in Memphis, Tennessee, where they opened up a facility and people are complaining because Tesla's burning natural gas. They have like 14 gas turbines spinning, providing them massive amounts, probably like 350 megawatts of electricity, and they're buying the gas from the local power company, but they're burning, creating their own electric. But people are complaining about what it's doing for the air quality in the area, which was already pretty bad. So there's that. But anyways,
I wonder how, I don't know, are you aware of this asteroid that is projected to strike the moon here in
no,
the next, I think, what is it, like 2032 or something like that? And it's apparently a fair sized chunk of rock.
it's
And
crazy that they can predict that.
yeah, if it strikes the moon, it's going to knock loose all kinds of debris that become meteorites. And I guess the worry is that all those meteorites are going to start taking down the satellites. Things like the Starlink and that type, and other types of navigational satellites, weather satellites, and things. So that's another thing to watch. Fortunately, AI Atlas didn't send in space, and didn't send little green men to invade Earth. Apparently,
Right.
that's headed out to space, although it's left a whole bunch of questions behind it as to what the heck it is. But now we've got this asteroid that's barreling down, apparently on the moon. So,
All right. Well, anyways, I still think that's pretty interesting that what Musk keeps doing with his different companies, because he already had combined Twitter with xAI.
yeah.
So that means now Twitter is going to be part of SpaceX, which I find that kind of fascinating. So X will be SpaceX. Anyways, battery storage explodes. 908 projects totaling 40 plus gigawatts now operating in the US. Now, we reported on battery storage a fair amount, but it keeps coming up.
Yeah.
New alternative chemistries,
Well, it's
non-lithium.
I think we have now renewable energy has now officially replaced coal.
Right.
In terms of, I guess, I'm assuming new power generation, not existing coal use, because that's still huge globally. But at least in terms of new plants being built, that they have, it's now replaced. It's now larger than new coal power plants being built. So that you got to put it somewhere. Coal, for all its bad things, is in fact a form of stored sunlight. It is a battery, effectively, right? It doesn't turn into electricity. It indirectly can be used to produce electricity, but it's a form of stored energy. So we have to find a way to store the electricity. And obviously, one of the ways to do that is chemically, electrochemically with batteries. And of course, there are other ways to do that, compressed air. There's somebody that's been working on a giant inflatable, tunnel type of thing, big balloon type of thing that they're using to store excess energy in this tunnel thing. And then they're in, off peak times, off when the sun's not shining, they can use the pressure differential between the pressure inside the tunnel and the pressure outside of the tunnel to also generate electricity. Who is this? Sweden or someone has developed, or Finland has developed a battery that uses sand. So you store the energy in the form of heat inside the sand. And that thing apparently runs for days, not just hours. So we've got some really interesting technology.
I saw somebody with this tech basically heating up
Replace coal,
rocks.
but at least at a cost, to the people. I'm not sure what that refers to. Yeah, I'm all in favor of replacing coal. So
Yes. Yeah, I've seen some stuff with like just heating
okay,
up rocks in the desert. Oh, see you, Bill.
Ah,
Bill will be back in a minute.
go down here.
So, but that's okay. Bill, we can still hear Bill. Bill can't hear us. So I can talk badly about Bill and he won't know what comes. I wouldn't blame rate increases on the changing of the technology. I mean, for instance, wind and solar, wind is cheaper than coal. Solar, it really depends on interest rates. Solar installation has been heavily dependent on interest rates more than anything else. Um, but even still, Bill and I live in Nebraska,
Okay.
and coal is our number one energy producer, and wind is number two. But we have times of the day when wind is number one, and in our neighboring state of Iowa, wind is their number one producer of energy. Now, one of the things is the wind is always blowing here. Okay, so it's that's not the case everywhere, but the turbines are always spinning at least at some speed all the time here. Um, but we still get more power from coal overall than we do from the other. But the renewables do a great job of lowering your overall cost of electricity. The problem you get into is if coal is replaced, but the energy demand is there, and if there's not an oversupply of power with the coal, then energy rates are going to go up because there simply isn't enough supply. And so that's one of the things. A lot of times, coal plants are closed when there's still a shortage of supply, and that's wrong. Yeah, we have that problem here in Omaha. We have a coal-fired power plant that keeps being promised it's going to be closed, but there's nowhere else to get energy. And so we have such a demand. Our power is so cheap here in Nebraska that we have all these data centers here,
Yeah.
and they're gobbling up the energy. So I get where you're coming from, Keith. We don't close that coal-fired power plant, which is in a poor neighborhood. So people complain about the air quality, but we can't close it because there's no power to replace it. We actually shut down a nuclear power plant here back in 2018. That thing's almost completely gone. That I was seeing some OPPD sent something out where they had converted everything to rubble, and they were hauling off all the rubble back a week or so ago. But the Fort Calhoun nuclear power plant is gone. It's farmland now. I mean, it's really hard to fathom. They disassembled that thing in about 8 years and completely got rid of it.
Well, yeah, we dang near lost the thing due to extreme extreme flooding. Yeah, back a decade or so ago.
And that was quite the flooding thing, man. So much of the area never recovered from those floods. There's still places that are underwater from back then. But I was going to say on the battery thing, I'm not familiar with an iron air battery. They were also suggesting sodium ion batteries reaching commercial scale, promising lower costs and better supply chain diversity. Plus, these other chemistries can't catch on fire.
Yeah. But by the way, the iron air, I think it's iron air battery. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was actually developed originally by Thomas Edison.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny how things keep coming back around.
Coming back around, yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to skip that one. All right. We know that Ford took a $19.5 billion EV write-down, pivoting to hybrids. Ford canceled several large EV models and delayed profitability targets to 2029, citing Trump policy changes, weakening demand, and high costs. Just weakening demand for Ford. One of the things, we've been talking about several times this year is there's 32 new electric vehicles in the United States for 2026.
Mm-hmm.
And, Ford just has the Mach-E, the Ford F-150, and the van, and they're dropping the F-150.
The F-150, yeah. But they do have a couple of models over in Europe. So
yeah, and yet they have other models in Europe that
and they quashed rumors that they were looking to build EVs in collaboration with Xiaomi. That
Yeah.
was, going around that Jim Farley apparently liked his SU7 so well that that may have sparked the possibility of doing some kind of development here in the U.S. So
Yeah. Oh, and this is one of my ongoing things. I'm all for clean energy. Um, Most of the time, clean energy is actually cheaper than traditional energy sources, but it doesn't make economic sense to retire functioning equipment. Now, the Fort Calhoun nuclear power plant was economically not viable. So we didn't just close it because we're anti-nuclear. We have another nuclear power plant that's much
yeah,
larger,
yeah,
and
just
it's
on the river.
yeah, and it's still running. Um, but the Fort Calhoun nuclear power plant was out of date. It was the smallest um, grid nuclear reactor setup in the United States, and it costs too much to upkeep it, which is unusual because usually your cost to upkeep big nuclear reactors is like only a couple cents a kilowatt. It really is cheap, and they make cheap energy, and it's just frustrating we don't have more of it at this
They're
point.
just really expensive to build.
Yeah, and a lot of that is all the safety features that go into the older style technology, and a lot of that's just to keep humans from screwing it up. So that's why I'm such a big proponent of Generation 4 versus the Generation 2 that exists now. But, anyways, Ford is reinvesting in trucks, hybrids, and affordable EVs rather than premium large EVs. The business case for big battery vehicles has eroded. Now, this retreat, along with General Motors, Hyundai, Toyota pullbacks, threatens billions of dollars in southern state EV factory investments in Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, and South Carolina. Let's see. I want to talk about next.
Well, let me jump in here while we're talking about the large OEMs. An article came out last week that General Motors also, of course, took, I think it was like a $9 billion write down, something
Right.
like that on their cars. This article makes the contention that it wasn't because they were necessarily that law didn't because of they producing electric vehicles. It came because of all of the retooling and the cutbacks and all of the rebuilding and reassigning of assets that they did when they decided to not produce as many electric vehicles as they had originally scheduled. So that, again, I'm not an economist. I'm just reporting what the article reported, that the problem wasn't the EVs they were making. The problem was when they decided to do away with the EVs.
Yeah, there you go. Rivian is the one exception. Rivian broke ground on its $5 billion Georgia plant in September of 25, but won't start production until Q4 of 28. It was originally supposed to be this year. So they backed up like over 2 years.
There was some things that interfered, policies and funding and things of that nature. So the other exception, however, though, is Hyundai. I did a little research on this, and apparently the Hyundai plant is I think it's the Georgia plant, I believe.
Yeah.
Anyway, is expanding and is growing, whereas other plants, particularly batteries and things of that nature, have cut back.
Okay. Let's see. China's Robotaxi revolution. Driverless rides now routine in major cities. Baidu, Pony.ai, and WeRide operate extensively in Beijing, Wuhan, Guangzhou with no safety driver. Rides are smooth, reliable, and cheap. There is a challenge if you're non-Chinese. So non-Chinese face hurdles. The apps are in Chinese language.
All right.
real name verification via Chinese ID, and you can only pay with WeChat or Alipay. Now, if you're a WhatsApp user in the United States, you can't use that in China. You have to use WeChat.
Yeah.
And I hate WeChat. I have WeChat accounts. It is a pain in the butt to add somebody, create a group, refer somebody. It just is not as easy to use as WhatsApp, but it has a lot more features. You can pay bills with it. There's a lot of things you can do. It's got like, payment processing integrated, like kind of like PayPal.
That's sort of what Musk is wanting to try to do with Twitter, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. He likes the WeChat model, but I just hate the WeChat app.
Yeah.
So I have to use it occasionally, and because I'll be communicating with somebody in China. The people that fund DV World. No, I'm just kidding. But
Who?
yeah. If only we could get the Chinese government to fund DV World.
That ain't gonna happen, buddy.
No, I know. I know. Yeah. We're looking for a sponsor. Everybody thinks we're like some kind of socialist communist organization
Well,
pushing
yeah,
EV agenda.
I'm a card-carrying member. You know that, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. We get out on May 1st every year and
Yeah, celebrate.
and celebrate.
I waved my little red book.
Oh man, I was in Washington D.C. once on May 1st, doing like walking around the monuments. There was a bunch of people out protesting. It was really funny. There was chanting something like "Power to the people, death to the bosses," or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, really, who really cares? I mean, there was like 20 people out, and they were all wearing like red T-shirts and celebrating May Day. It's like, you realize communism's killed hundreds of millions of people all around the world. Who makes like all our stuff? It's a mutual fund. Yeah, not sure what you're referring to there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, we're not sponsored by anybody, to be honest. Well, we are a little bit by Google, and we get a little bit here and there, but it's we mostly get offers of free stuff. More so than money. People want us to be affiliates, and it's like, I never really see anything that it seems that appealing. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, people want very much. I get all the time. I get things. Well, we want to. How much do you want to charge us to run an article on your website? And nah, I'm gonna just keep the focus narrow here, and do what we've been doing for the last several years, and what I've been doing for the last 28 years.
Yeah. China sure does make a lot of our stuff here in the U.S. There's no question.
Absolutely. I had a funny experience. When I went to China the second time in 2002, I wanted to take a gift to the gentleman who was my host and helped me get there. But I wanted something that was made in America.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I could find that I wanted to take with me over to America was an American-made Nebraska Cornhusker red cap, right? That was made in USA. But everything else you look at, it's made in China. Why would I take something made in China to somebody that's in China already? So
right. No, it makes a lot of sense. You can take them a bottle of bourbon.
Yeah, I don't know if I could get through customs with that. I had no problem with the ball cap.
Yeah, nice. All right, life cycle study. Electric vehicles cut emissions 59% versus ICE across all segments. Battery EVs have the lowest life cycle carbon footprint of all. This was 2023 U.S. light-duty vehicles in every size and segment, even under cold climates and fossil-heavy grids. It's funny how people like to claim that if the grid is relying on coal, that it makes the EVs not clean.
Yeah, not true.
Yeah, not true
that
at all.
That was disproven. God, what was it, 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah. And what is it? 18, it's not even 18% of the US grid is coal anymore.
Oh yeah, once upon a time,
Now,
but not
we,
anymore.
we live in a coal heavy state, in Nebraska. Even though we have so much wind, coal is number one. And so we're far above that 18%.
Oh, I don't know if that's true. I'd say it probably still natural gas is number one.
I'm pretty sure it's coal, Bill.
Well, I'm gonna find
As
out.
somebody who does a lot of research here on EV World,
What am I looking for? SPP.org, right?
yeah, I don't know. But anyways, fully electrifying 2023 US sales would cut fleet emissions 59%, with biggest gains from electrifying large SUVs and trucks. Well, obviously, large SUVs and trucks are the big polluters, right? It's not your, you
Yeah.
know, little cars.
Oh, this interesting. This was an argument that was made by a long since retired General Motors senior executive. He said, if we're going to electrify things, folks, we ought to be doing the trucks, right?
Yeah.
Which, hey, just FYI, at the moment, the Southwest Power Pool grid, which is part of what we're a part of here, coal is at 39.4449. Natural
Still
gas,
more than double the national average.
yeah, 39. Natural gas is 35.9797.
Mhm.
Wind is at 13.52.
That's sad.
So then solar's 2. Nuclear is 5.7. Hydro is 2.5. So you're right. Today, coal is near 40% of the grid right now.
I'm not
grid.
saying I'm proud of that. Not saying I'm proud of that.
No.
I'd like to know, where is that hydro coming from? Damn,
Gavin's Point Dam, and then there's a series of little jet plants along the Platte River, but most of it's coming from the Gavin's Point Dam.
the Platte River? The Platte's got
Oh
no
yeah,
water.
yeah. Surprisingly, there are hydroelectric power. They're little ones. They're only in the few hundred kilowatt range, but they are adding to the local grid. So yeah,
I mean, that river is so small. You got to keep
it's
beavers from
small, it's
building dams.
shallow.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that one at certain times of the year, sometimes you can walk across it.
Nearly walk across it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although you got to be careful because there's quicksand in it and things like that. So,
when I was a kid, I always thought quicksand was going to be a much bigger issue in my life, and I've never encountered it. So,
fortunately, I haven't either. I'm happy to say. So,
it was just one of those things from watching cartoons and other stuff. You just assumed the quicksand was a pretty common issue.
Well, as long as you stay away from the Platte River and places like that, you'll be okay. So
Good. Well, I generally do. Anyways,
where are we at? What do we got left to talk about? There's
active EV charging management can double grid hosting capacity. So 50% peak load cut. Real-time active management can stagger EV charging to cut peak load by 50% and shift up to 95% of charging to off-peak hours. Using this approach can save EV owners up to $400 annually while still meeting driver needs. This is based on a grid study via EV World. Man, that EV World coming up with the latest news. Actively managed EV charging. It's funny though. People always think that everybody's going to go right home and charge their EV all at the same time.
Well, you technically can do that, but most EVs have the ability to where you offset, so you can plug it in. It just won't start charging until it reaches the time that you have set in the either on your app or on the car itself. And the reason you want to do that, of course, is because whereas here in Nebraska we don't have time of use charging. Whereas a lot of other states, particularly California, they have time of use. So if you use electricity right now, this time of day, it's going to be more than if I waited until I charge after 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah. So let's imagine that in 2028, Pete Buttigieg becomes the next president. Does he put a kibosh on nuclear
opposed to
reactors?
that.
Yeah, and he'll have Tim Walz as his VP. By
the way, I've met Mr. Waltz, so
yeah.
he won't remember me from Adam,
Yeah.
but I've met him, so yeah.
I'm just wondering. So right now, nuclear is getting bipartisan support. Okay, so it doesn't seem like anybody has a problem with nuclear at the moment.
At the moment,
Trump though has been really pushing it, and I sometimes wonder, the politics is so petty. I feel like a lot of the Trump pettiness towards wind and solar is just because the Democrats are for it. No,
and the fact that it wrecked the view of his golf course in Scotland.
Yes, it did do that. Yeah, but it's just
and he's not alone, because the most recent court ruling, he put this presidential decree, whatever it was, that said you have to stop all construction of all offshore wind plants. That affected 5 different plants, and one of those plants was the the one off of Cape Cod. That one, but that one's been opposed from the moment it was proposed and introduced, and they have finally. It looks like they're going to finally get to finish the thing. That was opposed because there were a lot of rich people. I think who the 2 brothers? Boy, I'm just terrible anymore. Oh, come on, Bill. I'll think of it later. Anyway, but it was the wealthy people that owned property, beachfront property along there, that opposed it because it was going to ruin their view. But when they did studies, this thing was going to be so far out in the sound that you could barely see the turbines. So it wasn't like they were there next to the shore. They were they were something like 7 miles out, something of that nature.
Owen
Koch brothers. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
The Koch brothers. Yeah.
Yeah. I only say that because politics gets petty. Whenever a new president enters, their first thing is, let's do 50 executive actions to reverse whatever the last guy was doing. And it's been that way for a while now. I don't feel that was the case with Clinton or with Bush Jr.
No, okay? I don't either.
But ever since Bush Jr., that's been the norm. And it drives me a little bit insane. I hate seeing all of these major policy shifts, which make it very hard to do business in the United States.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks it's simple. But I worry about this with nuclear because everybody's been kind of for it. I was going to say, Owen was talking when he saw his local Congress representative shopping. Now, I think Owen's in Arizona. It's funny. There's a Republican congressman that's close to aging out of being in Congress, and I know the guy who's being groomed to be his replacement. And it's funny because the guy groomed to be his replacement is a former Marine that owns weed farms in California.
Okay.
And so he's kind of
a legal one, not one of the mountains. Come near me, I'm going to blow you up.
He's got legal ones. I'm just saying, he's a little more middle of the road politically.
Yeah, but what's the former speaker, John Boehner? Doesn't he have some kind of investment in CBD or whatever?
Could be.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you get a lot more middle of the road politicians on different topics. Anyways, Bill, you had a pretty extensive list of stuff you wanted to cover. What did you want to cover?
Oh no, we covered them.
We did. Okay,
renewables, good. GM, we've covered that. You covered the emissions from trucks and things. No, Well, we should probably point out that Tesla also has canceled all future production of the Model X and the Model Y.
No, the
Uh,
S. It's the S and the X, not the
the
Y.
S, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. The S and the X are no longer being produced, but they are introducing a cheaper Model Y. I think it starts right a little below 44,000, something like that. So we got a new Model Y coming out, but we no longer will have the Model X or the Model S.
And what are they replacing those production lines with?
Well,
Optimus.
they're going to replace
Optimus. They
them
say
with
they're going to replace it with
the
Optimus.
Optimus robot. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be robot production lines. You can get your new robot overlord for your house.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess nursing homes are having a hard time finding workers to work with patients. So I guess if you can figure out a way to make a sympathetic, empathetic robot that can help
Oh
people
Lord.
in and out of bed and help go to the bathroom and bathe them and all the things that a human
Well,
being would do for them.
so in the assisted living space, it is so hard to keep good employees because everybody
Oh
burns
yeah,
out.
yeah,
There's a huge burnout problem in that, and if you were to go around Omaha, for instance, most of your facilities are populated by like Africans.
right.
So it's mainly like African immigrants that are filling those roles in the assisted living facilities. It
And thank
seems.
you for doing that. Thank you for
Yeah,
your service.
but it's tough because people just burn out in those roles. Doesn't matter how much you pay the people, the wages don't matter. It's just people just
Yeah.
get super
Well,
frustrated with it.
I can see that.
Yeah, and maybe robots would do something. I was thinking more like, can the robots go outside and play with my dogs?
Yeah, take them for a walk,
Take
right?
them for a walk,
Yeah.
all that kind of good stuff. Yeah,
And then have a laser zapper so that when they potty, instead of having to pick it up and put it in a plastic bag, you just zap it.
burn it right
Just
there.
burn it. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I want my
Or,
robot running around with laser guns.
hey, suck it up, right? And convert that into methane that then can be made into electricity to charge the robot.
Oh yeah, so we'll have a robot full of dog crap. That's really novel there, Bill. Yeah.
I'm going to patent that idea.
Yeah, there you go. Dog crap to power your Optimus. We
Yep.
may have to do a
Yep.
whole episode on that.
Yeah,
Let me
there we go.
create an infographic for that. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to create an infographic for that.
There we go.
Anyways, all right, guys. Well, thanks for listening in. I'll be back with Mike tomorrow. We'll talk about some engineering kind of topics tomorrow, maybe if we can find something good and technical.
And not methane powered robots by dog poop.
Yeah, yeah. That's you got to run that. You might need to post that on Twitter.
Yeah,
Tag Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't know if I trust the robots with the laser gun to shoot. To do that.
Well,
Anyways, all right,
okay.
folks. Well, have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow.